hope, good health, the start of death. See, I'm finna dip, so I hit the strip in the cut. Dang, that's a cut. Plus two dope with too much bang in the trunk. With the pump behind the kickbox. Do something about it, get mad, get hot. I be ballin' on you, holding on you, calling on you, holding on you, ballin' on you, holding on you, calling on you, holding on your ass, get 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 your ass. I be ballin' on you, holding on you, calling on you, rolling on you, calling on you, holding on you, calling on you, rolling. Get your ass, 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 get your ass up.
Look, my babies, they need food every day. When they get sick, man, the doctor ain't free. Light bill once a month, rain or shine. Bad things seem to have no sense of time. Better get your grind, nigga, use your mind. Niggas losing time, I got friends of mine won't get up off their ass, satisfied with broke. In and out of the jailhouse for playing with dope shit. Nigga better go and pick up a book. White folks done perfected being educated crooks. Stack your paper, don't spend it on bullshit. But that's so hard when a nigga never had shit. Nothing on TV but diamonds and Bentleys. Real life niggas got apartments and hoopies. Everybody not rich, lot of niggas hurting. All I'm saying, niggas don't put that work in.
I be ballin' on you, holding on you, calling on you, holding on you, holding on you, holding on you, calling on you, holding on your ass, get 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 your ass. I be ballin' on you, holding on you, calling on you, holding on you, calling on you, holding on you, calling on you, holding. Get your ass, 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 get your back off the wall, get your ass off the couch, get your nose out her ass, get his dick out your mouth. See my click out the south, but I'm extended in a few cities. A couple of different partners, couple of different sets of titties. I keep it gritty like the bottom of a surf bottle. I believe in God, but I ain't trying to be no church scholar. I take a rock and squeeze juice from it. You ain't old enough, wise enough, or strong enough to stomach what I done did. I done faced the game of life, fell off and came up twice, raised a daughter with my wife, and I ice skate on the thin line of love and hate. I done bullshit for days out, drinking, drugging late. Now, what you niggas know about me paying dues, man? 16 years old, traveling with the blues, man. 10 foot niggas can't even wear my shoes, man. If you feel me, let me see the crowd move. I be ballin' on you, holding on you, calling on you, holding on you, ballin' on you, holding on you, calling on you, holding on your ass, get 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 your ass. I be ballin' on you, holding on you, calling on you, holding on you, calling on you, holding on you, calling on you, holding. Get your ass, 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 get your ass up.
How's it going, everybody? It's Man Tomorrow here. Thank you for coming through on this Christmas show. Me, I personally don't celebrate Christmas. I think it's real ridiculous. However, I do love it when everybody else catches up to the simple fact of where I am, which you can actually celebrate any day like Christmas, just like Christmas. Only thing you have to do is just have a specific level of peace within your life and your productivity and your mind together, and you can be able to enjoy this type of peace every other time of the year rather than just waiting one day out of the year and do this. Okay. I had this show planned for a couple weeks ago about the educated productive versus the educated unproductive. And it's very important that we uncover this because we have PhDs gallivanting throughout the space, selling nothing but victimhood, talking about bullshit women's issues, and just not being effective leaders among people. So I'm going to go through all the significant times within my life where there were educated unproductive and educated productive people. So before we go forward, Shout out to the people in the chat. Make sure you hit the like button when you come through. Like Ogreman, what's going on? LOM. Just Bob Bowman, what's going on? Checking for you. Cedric Webb, Red Pill Finance. Derek McKinney, Kevin Smith. All right. Let's keep going with the show. All right. I am going to start this journey. I am going to start this journey in, let's say, high school. Let's say high school. High school was a pretty good determining factor of whenever I ran into educated, productive versus educated, unproductive people. Now, at first glance, you would think there would be the gym teachers, it would be the football coaches. No, those people were actually pretty good at what they were actually doing with those sports and those things. What's going on, Jermaine Taylor? I'm going to start with the people who taught but they were not good at. Liberal arts majors. For me, liberal arts majors has been a thorn in my side ever since high school. They were the people who gave the least amount of things to the conversation. They really couldn't teach their particular topic that they were actually went to school in very well. And they made their classes needlessly hard and boring for no apparent reason except for the simple fact that they knew that you had to take their class to get out of school to move on to far more productive things. They knew that by you getting out of their class and moving on to other things, that you was going to be leaving them behind for the most part. So, leaving that particular situation, I'm not talking about biology teachers. I'm not talking about hard sciences. I'm not talking about the chemistry teacher, the calculus teacher, the math teachers. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about things that clearly you wasted your life if you actually majored in, even at that point. And it's quite obvious those people tried too hard. They didn't really need to try that hard. All they had to do was teach their particular subject and let people go, but they needlessly made things over cumbersome and they required all this respect that clearly didn't require any. And there was a general thorn in the side, and it was clearly unliked by every other person in the school. So it clearly wasn't the education. Oh, the art teacher too. Yeah. Huge piece of shit. Yeah. The one that was on crack cocaine and yeah, well, at least high school. But that's that situation. So then the second group of educated, productive versus educated, unproductive individuals that I ran into is when I was in the United States military, the Air Force to be exact. Given all the things you have to go through basic training, and you go to your actual technical school, you run across these butter bars, which are actually O1s. You know, they just got there, and you just figured out that the only thing these people had a degree in was a degree in anything, and they were given officer candidacy. Some of them from basic training in the Air Force, enlisted. And these people were wholly on horrific at their job for the most part. Now, there were actually officers in the United States military that were very good at their job, regardless of what their educational background was. Now we're going from even if you do have a technical background of something that is actually worthwhile, you can still be an unproductive person among everybody. This is where I ran into these type of individuals. Ayo, I do not disagree with you, sir. I don't. Okay, being a cop is not a hard job in the Air Force. It doesn't require a whole lot of intelligence to do that job. Unless you're like in a wartime situation or something like that, it really isn't a real technical job. And you've seen the people who actually could do the job and the people who could not do the job. The people who could do the job was pretty much cool with everybody. Because remember, happy employees, happy work environment, less stress going on, less people going out getting plastered and, doing crazy things all over base, people getting promoted on time, all of these things. Now, when you're under competent leadership that actually cares, because it takes a certain level of foresight along with the education to care about the environment that you're actually in. Then all of a sudden, you get so used to things working competently, then you get under the actual jurisdiction of somebody who does not care about what they bring to the table, who does not care about the actual environment, who does not care about anything that is going on there. Now, the previous individuals who was there had the same level of education, the same level of training as the individual who was there new. The new individual wanted to come up with restrictive rules and all types of things that would make things harder for people to do the particular job where we were. Because they was trying to make their mark by getting rid of people that they're not supposed to, rearranging people in certain type of circumstances that wasn't needed, because these people were not secure in who they was and what they brought to the table, that they have to prove their worth by putting people in untenable circumstances and expect the best type of outcome from it. It's gone, Brownsburg. So you have to understand that obviously it takes a level of education to be an officer, but you can still be bad at your job regardless of how much education you have if you don't care about the subject matter at hand. Then you're dealing with a level of competent individuals who care about things, a well-oiled machine, and then you have a level of individual who create problems in order for him to solve because things working in an appropriate fashion didn't really fit them all that much. Rather than being the leader of an organization, this individual would rather have individuals be dependent upon he or she within an organization. Because I've dealt with it from a couple of commanders who were women, especially at the end of my enlistment. When it really didn't take all that much effort to be a decent human being, they went out of their way to make things hard for everyone else for no reason, which really served no purpose, by the way. Again, the same ego problem that the actual high school liberal arts major would go through. Same type of attitude. Same type of inattention to detail. Same type of lack of dedication and lack of motivation when it came to the actual job itself. Always wanted to make it about he or she when they didn't really have any type of marketable skills outside of making life hard for everyone else to actually be around anyone else. Okay, let's go from that situation in the military to outside of the military. Let's go 4 jobs in. Let's go 2007, the year that I got my MBA. I was an IT project manager at the time. And that's when I really started to see people with bullshit levels of education needlessly made things harder for everyone else for no other reason than to prove to themselves that they were much needed in the organization. Let's say I'm an IT project manager. The person who's above me is probably like a Harvard graduate or something like that. Maybe went to Yale, maybe went to Princeton. Didn't matter what their degree was in. The fact of the matter is, the organization ran fine without their help, without their input on anything that happened within that environment. Period. But like the officer in the Air Force, like the actual liberal arts major in high school, this individual made the same mistakes, perhaps on purpose, than the other people made. The same thing. They clearly had education. They clearly had a whole bunch of people under them, but they wanted to make themselves feel more important than the actual job actually required. They made the same mistakes. They will find a well liked individual within the organization, and they will find some way to fire that individual within the organization or try to let that individual go within the organization. Throws the whole environment in a whole bit of chaos for no other reason than to create people who need leadership rather than everybody being their own leader and he or she taking full responsibility for a well-oiled machine. Because most people at that level, they went up to the corporate level, they went up to the corporate office, and they pretty much, once they left, they came through every couple of months to see how things were going. But whenever the leadership changed or they fired somebody who was well liked, you never seen those upper level directors even come back to the organization itself. Again, same problem. Person doesn't bring anything to the table. So what they do is they kind of become the table by making everybody kind of dependent on them when it's something that is just clearly not needed. Okay, let's go from that situation. And then let's go to me having my first couple of businesses where you think you're dealing with educated and credentialed individuals who know their actual field. Turns out that's not the case either. A lot of people want to sell their program to actual individuals, not provide any value to people or individuals within that setup. And I ran into a whole bunch of those individuals too. A lot of them had a ton of education, just like the manager of that organization, just like that officer in the military, just like that high school teacher who taught liberal arts, still trying to make themselves look far more important than the actual station of what they brought to the situation. It was the same. There is a difference between intelligence and education. Any person with average intelligence can go through a specific program one time and get a degree. That's not hard. It really isn't. Especially when I went for my doctorate, and I'm glad that I went to my actual residency out of cycle because I was doing so well in the program. I got to see those individuals who I was going to be around, my actual peer group. And after I spent that whole week at that actual residency in Seattle, I decided that I did not want to be a part of this process anymore. Because then again, people graduate with these degrees and they stop growing once they get the degree. They don't add anything to the conversation. They don't add anything to anything once they get the degree. And once they get the degree, they make it seem like they are above reproach. Oh, yeah, I know they do. Again, it was the same problem. Same exact problem. Where people got this credential and then they just stop growing as a person. Then they end up in charge of people's organizations. They end up ruining those organizations because they never really are held to any type of account for the things that go on within those environments, and they end up destroying those actual environments when they're supposed to be bringing value to it, and nobody really says anything about it. Just like the military example, just like the corporate office example, just like the high school example. We're talking about a business here, but people really just don't bring any type of know-how to the situation. They're just like, look, I'm a credentialed individual and I haven't grown anywhere beyond there, and you have to listen to me. And no matter what happens, we have to pause the entire conversation to catch up this so-called expert on whatever's happening. The degree of competence just pass over these people. They think that once I got this credential, I no longer have to do the research anymore. I no longer have to be competent at anything anymore. I no longer have to participate in the process anymore. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to delegate those things to other people. I'm going to not listen to the advice of individuals who are far competent than me in these circumstances. I'm going to make other decisions that's going to affect the entire organization so that way I can prove how much of a leader I am as a person. That does not require any intelligence to follow bad advice to make the actual environment dependent upon you. That does not take a level of intelligence. It doesn't. Because you have to care about the outcome of your actual decision making process, about how it affects people within the environment itself. But if you're only trying to care about your own credentials and how you look to everyone else, you seem to skip over all of that stuff. That doesn't require any type of intelligence either. Targeted selfishness requires no type of intelligence. It's very specific, it's incredibly particular, and it's really unneeded at the end of the day. Again, the degree of useless, credentialed individuals in bullshit ass liberal arts majors, but that's where it starts. But it can be in any career field because there are incompetent people everywhere. But I found that liberal arts majors are like the creme de la creme of fucking bullshit that I've seen. But they can be everywhere. Now let's come to this place called the manosphere, where the manosphere is the best collection, the best social science experiment ever created, known, that I've ever been a part of. I've been a part of a lot of organizations, But this manosphere thing is something else. Because I seen when I came here, I think 6 or 7 years ago, because I was a donator, that strictly a donator. Then I was a commenter. Then I was interviewed by a couple people. Then I had my own platform, for like the past 4 or 5 years or whatever. And then I subsequently seen like the fall of the space, thanks to one person who wanted to try to help women and try to get them to see the error of their ways for some dumbass fucking reason. But that's where we are. You had an individual lie about his qualifications, but it didn't matter because most of these people came here to talk to women or listen to women talk down to them about issues that they're not going to fix because it's too financially incentivized to not fix those issues. Now, most of this actual information that these people need to be taught to them by a medical professional who's not going to repeatedly lead them into concentric circles of listening to the same bullshit over and over again. Actual educated individuals with levels of intelligence who care about outcome based thinking, they don't lead you in concentric circles of victimhood. They don't do that. There are bad counselors out there in the psychological field who set you up to be in this concentric circle. But it is still a dishonest business practice to keep somebody in a state of fear. It is still dishonest to keep somebody in that actual place. But what happens when so many people want to be in that place and somebody weaponizes something that is pretty particular that these people want? It leads them in circles over and over again. What do you do in those situations? So now let's get back to the PhDs. Okay, within Black American society, there are tons of things wrong with it. A ton of things wrong with it. But the children who are being affected by these things that are going on in the actual society itself, these things happened pretty much before they got born. Before they were born, there was a very particular and specific decision making process that set up this whole setup that not only they're going through at their age, but I'm going through at my age, and the actual individuals who are far older than I am who's trying to keep in place. The decision making process of how a child actually gets here is nothing that anybody ever focuses on. We never focus on that. I mean, so much so to the point that men put themselves in a bitch's mind state and try to educate you on how women think from a bitch's point of view. And I use that word specifically because we're not talking about cultured women. We're talking about men who deliberately put themselves in an uncultured woman's mind state to give you advice on how to get with said bad intentioned woman that they know have given them bad consequences. And they have so much of this information on hand that they still have not successfully defeated this woman at anything, not even child custody. But They think by feeding you into her actual thought process, it's the best way for you to be able to operate within this environment, even though they are living proof that that shit doesn't work. Because if it did work, why are they in the manosphere? If it did work, how could they possibly be in a space where men are trying to learn how things work and avoid these actual issues? How can there be so many older individuals selling compromise with the actual person that started this whole thing in the first place? Again, I'm talking about the wrong type of woman here. How can there be PhDs within this space? No criticism of these game dudes, no criticism of these fake street dudes, no criticism of fake ass master teachers, no criticism of men trying to help women in the men's space where men need to be helping men with their own goddamn problems, no criticism of not really getting people to the money or to the opportunity or trying to change the actual face of the space from actual male development to actual entertainment. You got PhDs here not saying a motherfucking word about none of that shit. Not a word. But somehow these same individuals are come to this space and they're just going to stir the pot at the bottom and they're not going to lead anybody anywhere because they didn't get to the money either. They got to the victimhood. And most PhDs, especially liberal arts majors, they fucking specialize in running in place and having bullshit level conversations that never fucking go anywhere. Because there's no level or plan of action here. Like when you listen to this victimhood bullshit that come out of their mouth, the lack of taking a side, the lack of taking any type of agency, the lack of actually producing anything productive within the environment, the lack of any of this stuff. I know full well if you had your father and your grandfather in your life for any long period of time, there is no fucking way they would send you into the clutches of these victimhood sellers to help you get with a specific woman that is going to help you have all of these problems that they're going to sit there and watch you go through. What type of academic individual would come here, see all of these problems, ignore them all, and just set up shop and sell victimhood? And not give any particular answers. So you have to ask yourself, what's the timeline? What is the timeline of when do you get to provide results to people? What's the timeline? What's the timeline? Because we talk about matriarchies and gynocracies, but we understand that these women want dumbass fucking dudes that they can have full control over in order to have kids with them so that way they can keep control of the environment itself, right? So if you have so-called credentialed individuals and PhDs in this space creating the weak-ass men that the women are going to easily be able to take for shit, creating a different class of individuals that they, one, overwatch being created in their own generation, and second, 20 years later, are not providing them the solutions to the actual problems that they know is there to keep them as a customer full time. What type of academic individual who would sit there and let some shit like that go down and have the fucking nerve to claim that they give a fuck about black boys when they know most of these people provided those black boys in the very circumstance that they're talking about that they're against? How is it possible that everybody is deliberately losing, deliberately don't have any way of dodging these problems, and deliberately are actually repeating the same problems over and over again? How is it possible that you have a level of arrested development that is nearly and clearly across the board from a 20-year-old person in this space to a 60-year-old person within this space? Same level and lack of inattention to leaving deliberate problems the fuck alone. Again, just like a liberal arts major, you could go educate yourself on everything about victimhood when it comes to dealing with the wrong woman. You can literally go and learn tons of this useless fucking information and package it together and sell it clearly to other people for a profit. But you guys have got to realize that most of these people within this environment at this point love male failure. They are codependent upon male failure, deliberate male failure. You really think most of these people within this environment want you to get to the money, want you to deal with a culture woman, not of this culture, but any other culture, on a one-to-one basis? Do you really think they want you competing with the dominant society? Do you really think that they want you to keep those finances that if you work so hard to get? That is a singular focus and a singular plan of most cultured individuals when they come here. How is it that we have a space full of a bunch of different individuals? No one talks about leaving the specific person alone that causes all of these problems. This is a point where you have the presuppositional argument of I'm too stupid to fucking date somebody else or be with somebody else. And you match that up with the post hoc rationalization of outsourcing the responsibility of your entire life to other people that you don't fucking control. This is literally a time loop. It's a hedge maze with no way out of it. You get this bullshit information and you take your ass up to one of these untrained equipment and you start buck dancing to fucking infinity. You get in there because they're set up for temporary sex themselves, because that's what the culture have allowed. Most of the men have overwatched that shit as well. But that's where we're at. What's going on, Stu, man, for the Black $55 super chat? But that's currently where we're at. How do we keep finding ourselves being wrapped up in this specific, in particular process over and over again? Whether you do have education or whether you don't have education. How is it on the planet that we can keep failing and keep blaming other people? How can we do this and keep blaming feminism? How can we do this and keep blaming white supremacy? How can we do this and keep trying to say, oh, well, back in the days we had this great ass black family, and all of a sudden feminism took it away? That's not the case. This was an individual choice and an individual decision to play and make deals with individuals that you know damn well did not have the training or the background to give you the specific result that you claimed that you wanted, but you played anyway. And a lot of these people came here to complain with their hard dick diplomacy. The hard dick diplomacy that they tried on this piece of untested, untrained equipment that have a very specific track record of being here temporarily, but you want to blame her for the shit though. Now you're sitting in a level in an age of 18 years of post nut clarity because you couldn't fucking think your way through this specific process. And you couldn't leave problematic people the fuck alone. Right? So now it's everybody else's fault but your own fault. Correct? So now you have to have a lifetime of pulling up to and listening to abject victimhood, abject gaslighting, abject, all of this stuff for the rest of your life because you refuse to deal with other people who have this shit under control. And you have the nerve to say that you give a fuck about the black community while you do all this shit. That shit's crazy. You have to understand that this is nobody else's fault but your own if you deliberately lose to this process. That is very simple and very easy to actually fulfill. If you want different results, you got to use better trained people. If you want different results, you got to use new inventory. That's if you want better results. But if you want the same results, by all means, keep dealing with the same people. Keep showing up to the same overnight 8, 9 hour conversations that don't fucking go nowhere. Where all these uneducated pieces of shit jump up on the panel and draw the panel in every other which way except for forward and progress. There's a difference between educated and productive and educated and unproductive. It's about what master you serve. A lot of people think they serve this master of, oh, I want to speak for the ills of men. Oh, I want to do this shit. I'm like, dude, you have to shut down this creation process for yourself. Everybody talking about this community minded shit when they ain't got their own fucking financial house in order. Everybody want to talk about helping black boys when they ain't got their shit right. How is it possible that this repeated process can keep going on again and again and again? I guarantee you a lot of these people within this space listen to all this information and they got a fresh ass baby on the fucking way right now with a person that they never should have dated. That's right. Especially these fake liberal people. I'm sorry, fake conservatives, where they're only conservative because they don't like what the woman did. They're not conservative enough to go find them a conservative woman that's going to give them a conservative result. Their whole life is based on this fucking liberal woman. Following her around like a dog with a pooper scooper, waiting for her ass to fuck up so they can cover it. Because Lord knows they're not going to bring any level of benefit to anybody else. This is what I'm saying. And I'm going to keep going over it again and again. Because when it comes to the next election cycle, what you're not going to do is you're not going to pull your ass up with this fake ass concern about shit. Yeah, I'm burying all these fucking talking points. So that way, when you see these pieces of shit come around doing the same gaslight game on you, you can see the fucking game that they're running on you. But it's your stupid ass fault if you keep falling for this shit. It's your fault if you keep falling for it. They're only doing what's easy. This isn't really hard to present the same narrative to people that you know ain't growing, so that way you can watch them fail, and so that way you can draw the blame off of some other entity or some other source. That doesn't take a whole lot of intelligence to do that. That doesn't take a whole lot of education to do that either. It actually takes no skill to do that. Imagine if you're driving down the highway. How much intelligence does it take to throw something out of your car or truck onto the highway that can literally cause somebody else to get into an accident? That doesn't take any level of education or intelligence to do. You have to be very specific in wanting the environment not to move forward in order to add those type of things to the environment itself. It's very clear that these people didn't want to build their own power. That's very clear. But how do you get so much power off of teaching victimhood? How do you get so much power out of making people comfortable in deliberate victimhood? How is that even possible that a person can claim, being a working class fucking poser, that they're the voice of the everyday brother? Is the everyday brother this fucking stupid as shit that they can't leave a specific type of woman the fuck alone to the point to where they show up to the same level of conversation for multitudes of years in a row? Is that what it is? And these people have the nerve to think that they want to mainstream our insecurities across the entire planet to make us look weak as fuck because they weak as fuck? Nah, man. I can't think that y'all just gonna be doing this shit with our fucking face out here, man. But you have to start weaponizing the truth with these motherfuckers. You have to lead them up on bitch nigga mountain, and then you have to move the ladder from bitch nigga mountain away from bitch nigga mountain, so that way the only way they're getting off this mountain is street pizza. That's what you have to do. You have to tell all of these people about how all this shit works as soon as possible, get them to the fucking money, and get them the better options and resources. Get them to better destinations that's going to be looked at by most of these people. The thing I like the most about the Passport Bros movement and the SYSBM movement is that it cannot be corrupted from the inside out because it's an outcome based program that requires you to have your finances in order so that way you can be able to travel. Can anybody travel? Absolutely. But there's a lot of individuals who want to take the level of how they act and move it to other places, which is not what the movement is about at all. But then again, a lot of these people don't have the level of integrity to create their own shit. This is why you see so many people who are not part of the group doing Passport Bros and SYSBM content. They're trying to connect our movement to their discontent with the women within the environment. That's not what our shit's about. They never come by, they never support, they never say anything, but at the end of the day, they want to absorb and destroy everything in sight. Because they're hell bent, and I mean hell bent, on making sure nothing functions properly. Anything to make sure that the woman stays in charge, that her decision making process is the actual coin of realm of the day. Anything to make sure that they don't participate in the process at all, that they don't acknowledge reality at all, that they don't try shit at all. Everything is dependent upon ensuring that this environment is right from the picking for her. And placing children in harm's way is their fucking calling card. They need broken boys and broken girls in order for them to keep their power. They need misguided boys that are completely broken by the system in order to keep their power. They are double agents for the gynocracy and the matriarchy. Double agents. That's really not that hard. You don't have to play into their hands, but they're doing so on purpose. They want to run around in so many circles so that way everybody can remain confused. What's the point of remaining confused when you have all these answers to all these questions that you can easily look up? What's the point of remaining confused at this point? Why would you want to be confused at this particular point in time right now? What's the strategy? What's the strategy? What is the overall long term goal here with this platform that you're building? Are you building this platform to leave us stuck? Are you building this platform to ensure that she wins? What are you building with this platform? What is being built here? Why would we need to be stuck in this situation for another 40 or 50 years? What's the point of wanting to be stuck in these same circumstances for 40 or 50 years? We already have all this information, right, about how this shit's not good for anybody, correct? So what's the point of not competing? What's the point of not understanding clearly how anything works? What's the point? Because there has to be some type of solution or resolution or some type of end goal here. I think we should try to find out what these people's end goal is. While we still have a chance and a choice, because their overall plan is to continue to keep putting boys in this actual circumstance 10 to 15 years later, still offering them no type of solution to no question. That's what their actual point of view is. So what's the goal of just waiting for a black woman to fuck up so that way you can cover it? Or trying to bring the wrong type of women to the table to actually subsist off the broken men that you've created? Because I'm telling you, you don't have room to be doing Passport Bros content and SYSBM content because you got a lot of men to send to their ultimate death. You got a lot of men to send to their ultimate death. So why try to conflate our movements that is about male progress with your movement that is not about male progress at all? I understand that you're out of content. Y'all been out of content ever since Kevin Samuels died. And this dream died right along with him of trying to help these women that don't need no assistance. So y'all was out of content really at that point. But they want to be the jackass of all trades. They want to try to absorb every single movement that is not tied down, and they want to conflate our movement so that way those movements don't mean anything. Next thing you know, we're going to have all this room that we have to fight people within our own circles because these people ain't got no type of sense whatsoever. What's the point of being an online street guy? What's the overall point? There has to be some type of point, right? What's the overall point of seeing wannabe hood motherfuckers win? What's the point of that? I'm talking about synthetic hood dudes. I'm talking about synthetic pimps, synthetic online dudes. What's the point of wanting to see them win? What's the point? There has to be some type of point here. Because I know they're not doing this shit for the free. What's the point? So you mean to tell me that we have all these people here and nobody can point out not a single thing that's wrong anywhere? So somebody is supposed to come here. Somehow they're supposed to figure out some type of answer to some type of solution and somehow stay lost and somehow have some type of progress that happens. I don't know a person who's knocking it out of the park listening to this bullshit. I don't know a person who came to the manosphere lost, accomplished something of great accord, and then all of a sudden ended up with one of these fucking women that they bring it back to the table and then their life turned out great. I don't know anybody who's doing that. I don't know anybody who's listening to G with a PhD and all of a sudden their life starting to pop. I don't know anybody like that. I don't know anybody listening to the victimhood that's going on another channel. All they got is victimhood. I don't know anybody who's listening to that shit and all of a sudden they start knocking it out of the park just by listening to black male victimhood. I just don't know anybody like that. I want to know the scholars that this fake ass master teacher have created. Where are they? They got to be somewhere, right? Trust me, I'm gonna make you chase down this fucking comfort that you get from these fucking astro shines. I want you to fucking go chase it down. I want you to go chase down abject fucking failure, and I want you to be happy with it. Because at the end of the day, most of these people who you're depending on to be the actual shoulders to actually cry on after you fuck up shit, these dudes are no longer going to be there. These dudes are going to leave your ass behind, and they're going to go get their shit together and not date your fucking women. All this because you cannot compete in society. So you want to fucking destroy it so no one else can compete either. This is crazy. But this is what these people are on, man. They are truly on this shit. The difference between intelligence and education is clearly the ability to produce results. I'm talking about results over and over again, more than one time. Most of these individuals have created a singular level of quasi results, and they're going to destroy everything else in order to keep the position where they're currently at. Yep, you're sure right about that. It's always that way. It's always that way, though. Every time you look around, it's the same circumstance, the same system, the same. They do not want things functioning properly. They cannot have things functioning properly. Imagine trying to have any sort of system without any type of quality control. Because that's what they want. They want a system without quality control. They want a system that doesn't work, no quality control, so that way they can't be held responsible for anything that happens. That's what they want. It is. It is their lifeline. They cannot say on a one-to-one basis value, how is this stuff supposed to work? They can't do it. Because if they did, they have to include some type of results. They can't have any results for anybody else. They got to make sure that this shit don't work. They have to make sure that they keep this gynocracy that they claim is there working. They have to create this stuff. They have to create it for themselves. They have to divest from us actually benefiting off of knowing all of this information just so that way they can keep the gynocracy popping. Just so that way they can have their own position. Isn't that crazy? They have to sit here and destroy every single thing that is here so that way she can stay winning. Because it is all about her winning. Again, there's nobody else doing this except for us. Because they got to maintain their position. And the only way they can maintain their position is by destroying everybody else's position. Yeah, I agree with that, man. You can't take someone where they have never been. If you never had a healthy, then how can you teach it? Yeah, results matter. Yeah, it does. But you could come on and formulate this fake ass online life and not really provide any type of results that anybody can verify. Like that's easy as shit. Apparently, anybody can do that. But that's just currently where we're at. Is that a lot of people think that their own survival is more important, far more important than anything else. And then they'd be the first one talking about code and all this other shit. When they be the main ones up to no good. Knowing full well if they were formulated families properly, these people would never have no voice. But that's why they're here. They are here to ensure that the woman gets what she wants to out of these fucking dudes. So it is by our own hands. There ain't nobody else doing this shit. Nobody. And the coin of the realm is who cares the most about the most uncultured woman's opinion. That's the coin of the realm. This is where we are, folks. It's not going to get any easier than this. You're not going to get any more advanced notice than this. This is why it's vitally important to learn how these things work and ensure that you don't fall into these same traps that all these other people have fell into. Because a lot of these people want to repeat these circumstances and repeat these mistakes and ensure that you don't go anywhere, just as long as they can keep a platform off doing so. But they require code out of you so that way you can make yourself an easier victim for them. That's what that's normally about. It's about you giving all the most to them so that way they can get the most out of you and you don't get shit out of it. You can't tell me that you've had way more advanced warning than anybody else in society. You cannot say that you don't understand how this stuff works. It's not even possible. But a lot of people are going to continue to try to bullshit their way through it. A lot of people are going to keep trying to do that. But they can't stop everybody. The only thing you need to do is just get your shit together and get off the field. Stop trying to buy into this bitch rich fantasy that they're trying to get you to invest in, because that's how they end up fucking your life up along with theirs. That's how it is. It's just really not even that hard. But they're codependent on the fact that you're going to deliberately fail. They need your actual failure in order to move where they're at. Oh yeah, man, like most of this community shit is ran on mail usually. But the shit is predictable and it's avoidable. Predictable and avoidable. However, these individuals still are not done yet. They want to get everybody mixed up in this shit. That's what they want. They want everybody mixed up in this shit. They want to mislead as many people as is humanly possible so that way they can ride on out of here with no type of benefit for anybody. You got to make sure that you're just not one of these people who's going to be with these people. You got to understand, man, there's going to be a lot of credentialed individuals that walk up to you, but you got to be able to notice what type of value they bring to you in a heartbeat. Because these individuals are going to try every way that they can to get by any way that they can. They're never going to bring any true value to your actual life, nor situation. They can't do it. Everything is dependent on maintaining the level of circumstances. Everything is dependent upon that. They do. They're McKinney. They do. How many dudes do you see in this space come in this space and act like there's three actual archetypes of people within the space? You got Corey Holcomb, Patrice O'Neal, and Cat Williams. That's the three archetypes of people that are within this space. Everybody has the dream of living up to those failed-ass versions of masculinity. That's what they own, man. And they have the nerve to tell you about brotherhood and how they are masculinists, which is nothing but a male version of a fucking feminist. They're telling you to your face that they're not going to be invested in the productivity piece anytime soon. They are here to ensure that the actual lady wins. Yes. They're not going to give you anything. They're going to make sure that you're going to be a nice snack for her while they get the benefit of not having any real competition. That's what these dudes are on. Because if everything worked, then there's no need for them. If the kids was created in a good environment, which is too late for them too, there will be no need for these masculine backup dancers. There's no need for them. The only reason why there is a need for all of these personnel is because the people did not choose appropriately. And they know so much about their process because they don't mind telling you that they are the person that's responsible for it. But that's all right. Y'all want to see hood dudes win. Y'all want to see these synthetic ass hood dudes win. Just so that way you ain't got to admit that you are a failure too. This is nuts, man. Then you want to outsource it to everybody else to fix your problem rather than you fix your own shit. Insanity, man. Nobody's really going for this shit, man. I hope y'all recognize it. But in the next couple of years, man, it's gonna be obvious to see who's losing this shit. Way obvious. Bob, if I have a kid, my kid is gonna be raised to rule over these fucking people. They will be raised nowhere near this fucking environment. They will be raised nowhere near this fucking dysfunction. They will be raised nowhere near these fucking people. He'll be raised in an entire society that is devoid of these fucking problems. The kid has to be taught that these people are to be fucking ruled over with an iron fucking fist. You are to show no humanity, no patience, no nothing with these people. There's no fucking way I would raise my kids around some shit like this. No, sir, I wouldn't do it. But hey, people gonna do what they're gonna do. I'm not gonna monopolize anybody else's choices on what they can do or can't do. But I'm just saying what I'm gonna do. In order for me to be able to have what I need that is just, it's best that I leave this shit alone. Leave this stuff right here where it's at. So I want to thank you guys for coming through on this Christmas night. I want to give you guys the actual gift of foresight. There's going to be a lot of failed men who's going to pick up this shit and try to sell it. There's a lot of failed men who picked up marijuana to sell it, pills to sell it, cocaine to sell it. There's a lot of people who picked up heroin to sell it, all types of shit. Just because they're selling it doesn't mean you got to buy it. Just like in any other time in history, those people sold that stuff is because they wanted to sell it. You can't want to sell a bad product and then complain about the actual outcomes of the bad product that you're selling. But that's what these people are going to continuously be on. They're going to continuously try to make themselves out to be victims when they're not victims. They're willing participants. What's going on, Doc Phoenix? Yeah, they picked up gangster rap and sold it. Hell yeah, man. Nobody asked them to do that shit. They did it on their own. And you got to let them live with those decisions. And you got to stop trying to see yourself through those people's success. Stop asking me questions about what the fuck the future's going to look like. Man, I'm not worried about that shit. Not worried about it at all. I know my ass is going to be counted there because I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that I am counted. I'm not going to be concerned about these people who are not participating. That's on them. Yeah, you're right about that, General's Clutch. Because here's the thing, man. If the shoe was on the other foot, we'd be doing the same thing to them. That's the sad thing about it. But the point is, we can see the success of other groups and other people. We just refuse to look at it appropriately. We refuse to adjust. Refuse to adjust. We refuse to adjust, and then we wanted to blame women once the shit didn't work right. That's the victimhood shit that's being taught by men to other men right now. Other men are teaching other men how to be victims. Other men are teaching other men how to get into dangerous ass situations with no way out of it. Other men are doing that shit. The women are just being the nice beneficiaries of the shit. I don't blame them for taking advantage of these dumbass motherfuckers. You'll never find me lobbying for any sort of recompense for these people picking wrong or these people getting in dumbass circumstances. You'll never find me doing that shit. Dude, you're already way ahead of these dudes without even having any experience. That's the thing that they don't want you to know. They don't want you to know that you are so far ahead of them with not having any experience that they don't have a chance at catching up right now, even if you have no experience. So the only thing they can do is just pull you down to their level so that way you can go compete with them in some shit that ain't working for them. That's what I'm saying, man. But see, they're dependent upon linking you up with the wrong type of woman so that way nothing ever fucking work for you. When that isn't something that you need to be connected to at all. But the point is, they want you to find out when it's way too late that you shouldn't have been doing that shit in the first place. That's the problem here. They want to create more victims of regrettable and actually predictable things that you ain't supposed to be a part of. And then you're going to be expected to carry that actual torch of victimhood that they lied your ass into that you're not going to tell the truth about when it comes to other people. It's deliberate and it's on purpose, and it's not the woman. So again, you guys have got to enjoy your Christmas, man. Every day has got to be Christmas. Every day has to be Christmas, man. Stop waiting for a specific day or particular time for time off. Every time that you have a time to take a breather after being out here in this fucking storm, it's some shit you should celebrate consistently. So with that said, I want to thank you guys for coming through on the Man of Tomorrow. You guys have a really nice rest of your day. The whole point was to be better than the fucking trappings of this fucking manosphere shit. You guys have a really nice day. Peace.